My name is Eduardo Schwenke, and I work in Elite since 15 years long, and I am the head of FSDD evaluations. Well, this is a very important thematic that should be clear. When you have a flight simulation training device, without having it certified, it's like having a toy. Expensive toy, sometimes maybe a cheap one, but you can use it just for hobby. If you like to train at home or at your office or whatever, but it's useless for professional training. So this is why the authorities require such a flight simulation training device to be inspected, and if fulfill all the requirements listed in the regulation, then they can certify it, confirm that it is useful for training pilots. And an FMPT2 is in essence a generic flight simulation training device with which you can train a lot of aspects of the usual training. I will say it's very good for ab initio training. There are FMPT with more complex or simplified aircraft models, and I will say this would be the best choice for a flight school if they like to train students ab initio. Generic means that the cockpit layout, for instance, will not be a replica of any aircraft. That means it will contain all of the common instrument, switches, systems, etc. that you normally found in an aircraft. It doesn't matter which one. We are talking from class of aircraft. That means a single engine piston or multi-engine piston or multi-engine turboprop or multi-engine turbine aircrafts. These are the four main categories of aircraft. And on the FMPT, it's a generic. You find, the common instrumentation, and the aerodynamic model and engine model. It's also generic. That means it's, let's say, it collects all the data from several real aircrafts within the class, and it will be modeled so that they are more or less representative of this class. In Elite, however, why Elite is a very good choice in order to get your first FMPT is that we always, despite our simulators are generic, we model them very close to the real aircraft. We try not to be that generic. That means that all our simulators, they look pretty much very close. I will not say in all of the cases pretty much the same, but they are very close to an existing aircraft. And that applies for both the hardware and also the aerodynamic and engine model. Well, there are a lot of emergencies that you really like to avoid the training in the aircraft, despite you should and you must train them on the aircraft itself. Like, for instance, if you really need to feel how the aircraft stalls in the aircraft itself. But of course, you will not like to stalling too many times, during your training. So maybe a couple of stalls on the aircraft will be fine. And if you like to improve your technique for recovering from a stall, for instance, then it's a good choice to do that in a capable simulation device that it's capable to reproduce that kind of maneuvers or effects, I mean. Well, for instance, under the EASA regulation, if you are applying for the private pilot license, PPL, the requirement is 45 hours in the aircraft, and with an FMPT2, for instance, you can accomplish 5 hours in the flight simulation training device certified as FMPT2. And another example, for instance, if you are applying for the ATPL license, that means airline transport pilot license, you need 1,500 hours experience in the aircraft, from which you can make 25 hours in the FMPT2 flight simulation training device. It's a flight navigation and procedure trainer, so it's really focused on the instrument training. And so it reflected on the credits that you can log on the sim. For the instrument rating, well, there are different types and combinations, but let's say you need 40 hours. And with the FMPT2, you can you can log 20 hours. So the half of the hours required, you can perform them on the FSTD. Most of our simulators are also FAA certified, and there are different levels of certification in the USA under the FAA regulation. Some of them are quite similar to EASA, the EASA ones, some other not. Very popular in the USA in terms of simplicity and how many hours you can log on the device is the AATD certification level, Advanced Aviation Training Device. The requirements are not that high like on the FMPT 1 or 2 levels here in Europe. So it's a very popular certification level there. And in that case, we as manufacturer, we produce one simulator and we present them to the FAA for approval, and the whole series will be certified. And that means that we produce more units, and it's just a matter of buying one, install them properly, and you will receive together with the simulator the corresponding letter of approval and qualification and approval guide, which certified that this particular simulator belongs to a series which is already certified as AATD. So it's just a matter of having, of course, an FAA approved instructor, and in that way the flight school can use it as an AATD. Exactly. With an AATD under the FAA regulation, you can log up to 2.5 hours towards the PPL, the private pilot license, up to 50 hours towards the CPL, commercial pilot license, and up to 25 hours if you are applying for the airline transport pilot license.